One, you can only trade Giannis once, so you got to do it right, and you got to get the best possible return that you can for him. So I think if you're the Bucks, you're gonna take your time with this, and sometimes what happens at this time of year, especially with these guys who are on really big contracts, and Giannis is on a max, 54 million plus, it can be a little hard to make those trades work in season because you maybe don't have the facilitators, roster spots are tight, hard caps, all this other stuff that goes into it. So sometimes what happens is we see these teams, they kind of do the groundwork now, and then a trade gets done in the summertime. I do think we're more real that he gets moved in the next few days here. I've had some say too it could maybe even happen over the weekend or Monday or so, because then it gives the Bucks a chance to reset after and then maybe move some of the guys they acquire or move other vets like Miles Turner, Bobby Portis, Kyle Kuzma, if they can, if that's the direction they're going to go is rebuild. And then I've had others say like, they're just going to get everybody's best offer right now. If it's not the best one, well, this will get done sometime in the summer. But nobody expects him to be on the Bucks at the start of next season at this point.
Let's talk about the Knicks' pathway to getting him. I've been tossing and turning with this one because I'm just not so, some days I watch this team and I'm like, yeah, they need to make a move and go get him. And then other days I'm like, this would be so tough because when you think about it, everybody's already assuming it's Cat in there because of the salary. But a lot of these guys that the Knicks would have to put in, I'm not, how high are other teams on them? Like with the Mikal scenario, everybody say, well, they could just send them to Portland and get those picks back. But what's Portland's, motivation to take on Mikal Bridges? What do you think about that? Because with OG Anunoby, I have no interest in putting OG Anunoby in a deal. To me, it makes no sense. When you think about potential returns, I want nothing to do with Kyle Kuzma or to have him have any type of responsibility as it relates to helping the Knicks win a championship.
Yeah. You don't want Kuz. That's not going to be helpful.
Yeah.
Now if it turns into at the end of the day, if it was Cat and I'll say one of Bridges or Anunoby, and you got Giannis and Drew Holiday, I think you say, let's go. Right. Let's kind of go here. I think at that point you're looking at probably starting Mitchell Robinson, and you're coming away with Robinson, Giannis, Anunoby or Bridges, Holiday, and Brunson. Give me that starting five all day long, right? Going into battle, and I still get Josh Hart coming off the bench, and Deuce McBride and my other guys. You're a little thin up front, but that's something you solve with another deal maybe. So I think what you're kind of looking at here now, if you're the Knicks, it becomes all right. Well, if the Bucks are insistent we need draft assets, you're not getting them from the Knicks. They don't have them.
Right.
There's nothing left to give minus some swaps that probably aren't going to be very good, especially if they get Giannis. So that's where it's like, I don't really have a lot of interest in that. But what you could get the Bucks is, hey, we're going to route a guy to Portland. The picks that Portland owns from Milwaukee will get routed back to Milwaukee. Now they've got their own picks back. So if they decide, hey, this is going to take us 3, 4, 5 years to dig out of this before we're really good, we're ready to go. And that's where I think you could see this turn into, a multi-team trade. You also have the crosstown Nets are sitting there with 15 million in cap space and some tradable guys where they may jump in and be like, hey, how can we help facilitate? Maybe it's not we take someone direct from the Knicks, but maybe they take on Kuzma.
Yeah,
right. And that becomes the way that comes together. There are definitely paths here. It's one thing too that it's very clear. I've seen a lot of people saying, well, the Knicks are a second apron team. They can't aggregate. They're not a second apron team. They can't be one. They're hard capped out the second apron. So they're in a spot where they can still aggregate contracts together. Where it gets tricky is they can't take back $1 more than what they send out because they're above the first apron. But they can get around that, especially if you start talking about moving a couple of these big contracts.
Are we in agreement here that for the Knicks, their best chance would be the offseason when they can open up that 33 pick, that first round pick? Because for me, it's like if these other teams, the Miami, the Golden States, the Minnesotas, if they're all legitimately in it, then to me, they still offer the best packages in terms of getting Milwaukee closer to what they're looking for. The blue chipper, the young player, some draft capital, maybe it's cap relief. I feel like those other teams would have a better shot.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. I think that those teams would be better positioned just because they do have more draft capital. There are some younger players on those teams, so I think you're in a place where, yeah, maybe you do let this run to the summertime and you figure it out there. And I'm with you. Go back something you said, a while back. There are nights, especially recently, where you're like, do I want to even do this? Like this team's playing pretty well, and it was interesting when they went through their bad period there, a few weeks back. People were like, "That's it, they don't have it." Everybody has bad
Bad
stretches, right? And
stretch.
it's now it was pretty bad. Hey, I'm not gonna pretend like it wasn't, but they're still a pretty good team, and I would feel pretty comfortable if I was the Knicks would saying, you know what, small move around the edges. We did, move Yabusele. We kind of reworked a little bit of the rotation, but our main guys are all still here. I'd feel pretty good about that going in, even if it wasn't get a Giannis deal done. And then what you may have is let's give this group one more
One
playoff
more.
run.
Yeah.
Then if Giannis stretches into the summertime, we can have the same conversation then. We can get all into it then and figure it out. Then if we want to make a deal, and it might be a little bit easier because we have a little bit more to offer.
Keeping it on the Knicks because they're a team that I feel like they need another bench move to really solidify a playoff run. Now, I don't think it's going to be a blockbuster, so skipping the Giannis thing and moving to a bit mid-level because it looks like the market for him is going to be red hot. That's Naji Marshall, man. Dallas Mavericks. Absolute beast, especially inside the paint. True shooting percentage north of 60%, I believe. 17 points per game. Great contract, $9 million. Where do you think Dallas goes there, man?
Yeah, they have Mark Stein's been all over it, and when it's Mavericks related, he's the guy to that's going to get the stuff. And it has been they want at least a really good first, if not multiple, for Marshall. Now, I'll pause to say that's today, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody a week out from the deadline or more wants two firsts for everyone, and every team wants to give up 2 seconds. And then magically we get close to deadline time, and everybody's like, "All right, one first. All right, let's go. Let's get it done and go." But Marshall has been so good. He's a
He's been
really good
great,
fit with
man.
Cooper Flag. He has a great contract moving forward. Is that they're gonna I don't think an AD trade's gonna happen at the deadline,
Mm,
but they're probably going to move him this summer is at least where
mm.
things are maybe feeling like. And if they do, Marshall's the kind of guy you want on the backside because I don't think Dallas with Cooper Flag, with Kyrie Irving coming back, they're not intending for this to be all right. We're going to be in the lottery for the next several years because they also don't have control of their pick after this year. So this year they're fine being whatever they are, but starting next year they want to start winning, and that's Marshall's a really helpful guy. So I don't think anybody's getting him for anything that's we're
Yeah.
not coming on here later and being like, man, what a steal.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to pay to get
You
him.
got to pay, man. Yeah, to me, he'd be perfect for the Knicks coming off the bench and give him,
Yeah.
a versatility offensively when the threes aren't falling. I mean, the guy can get into the paint effortlessly. But yeah, he'd be a great get for me. How about now? There's also been talks of them trying to get Alvarado from the Pelicans, also kicking the tires on Yves Missi. William Guillory of the Athletic just yesterday said that Alvarado wants to stay with New Orleans. Well, first of all, what did you think about that in terms of his motivation? Is it just playing time? What do you think? He's got one more year left on his deal after this one. Player option, I believe.
Yeah, he wants to be there. They apparently don't want to trade a whole bunch of other guys. I guess I went to New Orleans for the first time and spent any real amount of time there this past summer.
Yeah.
I'll say I kind of get it. It's a pretty cool place.
Yeah, it's cool.
Like,
It's a good
I had a
vibe.
lot of fun down there, so I get why they might want to be there. Basketball wise, I might be looking to make some other moves if I was the Pelicans and those guys. But I kind of think we're in a place where Alvarado, I get it. He may be looking at, hey, if I opt out, they have my bird rights. They can give me, not that he's going to get a massive contract, but they can give me a nice
A little more
contract
bump.
here.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the direction. And where with the Knicks specifically, if I'm him, my question would be, hey, when we get to the playoffs, Jalen Brunson's going to play
Yeah,
40 minutes a
right,
night.
right.
Deuce McBride's going to play probably 10 or 15. Where am I playing? Like, how am I going to slot in there as another small guard? Like, probably not, right? So sounds great for depth purposes for the Knicks, but he may be looking at it and saying, yeah, I'm happy to stay here unless it's somewhere where I can really play, and he's getting to play a real role there. Now, he's Misi, that one I'd be really interested in
Yeah.
because I think he could come in and really play a nice role for the Knicks, especially if they wanted to go back. It seems like certain opponents it is double bigs the way to go for them, and then that gives them the third center in the rotation. And we've seen at times, with Cat gets himself in foul trouble. Maybe Mitchell Robinson gets in foul trouble. Then you're in that like Ariel Huck-Porty, who does a nice job, but let's face it, he's a limited guy.
Right.
So if you could get Yves Misi, that'd be pretty good if you could try to pull something like that off.
Yeah, seems like, at least from Will's article, seems like New Orleans is kind of searching for more draft compensation there. And with Amisi, I mean, he's 21 years old, so I wouldn't blame him there. But like you said, for the Knicks, that would be a good get. Now, Bobby Marks in his article today was talking about the fact that, because essentially we're looking to move that Yabusele contract. He's got another year on that taxpayer mid-level that they signed him to. But Bobby Marks was saying, hey, if they're able to get off of that salary, they'd be able to get Mitchell Robinson in there and remain under the second apron. So I'm wondering then, is that a signal where if they do trade Yabusele, it may not be for a guy like an Alvarado who has that player option, but maybe it is for someone who's coming in as a free agent going into the summer so that they don't have any more long-term commitments?
Yeah, I mean, it may be, right? And it could even be one where I like to call these 230 on deadline day trades where nothing else has come together. And the Knicks might be like, hey, you know what? This doesn't really do anything for us right now. But what it could do is let's move off of him. We'll either convert a two-way guy. Maybe there's a buyout guy who didn't make over the tax, or excuse me, the non-taxpayer MLE that we could get to fill out the roster. And maybe they do throw one of those second rounders. They've got a handful of seconds.
Yeah.
And hey, will you take on a second to eat Yabusele, or maybe even two of them to a team that's like, yeah, sure, let's go. I know we've heard the Spurs mentioned. There's been some talk of, could Jeremy Sohan land in New York? And Sohan's an interesting player. I think that one comes with the challenges of he needs re-signed, but it's not going to break the bank. But if you're looking to, we want to do Mitchell Robinson, I mean, then it's all right, let's take a look at Sohan for the rest of the year. If it works out, maybe we'll find a way to keep him in here without getting crazy with our salaries, or, we just let him move along.
Anybody else you think about with that Yabusele deal? Like, Yabusele Dadier, Yabusele Clarkson. But what do you think, man? I mean, I look at the Knicks. I look at their need at, more consistency at the playmaking option. I'm not sure if they trust Kolek in the playoffs, if they need him. They could always use another wing, in my opinion, given the durability of Hart and Anunoby. And as a backup big, more insurance to jump ahead of Huck-Porty in the event you need him in the playoffs. Yeah,
and you're going to have to pile a couple guys together with Yabusele, but could you go out and maybe get someone like Matisse Thybulle to come in? Now, he's been hurt, hasn't played a lot, but he's been a much improved shooter since he's been in Portland. That gives you just another really good defensive player. I mean, with Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, you have pretty good defensive wings when they're locked in and focused. But Thybulle will give you one more that could come in and give you that with a little bit of shooting. Probably too expensive for them to go get a guy like Rob Williams. He probably makes a little bit too much for it to be, realistic there. So that part gets a little bit tricky. I was kind of looking around. I mean, these are the guys. No one's gonna be jumping up and down and running to the store to buy the jersey. But could you get like Jock Landale from Memphis, who's been a solid big. Jay Huff from the Pacers, another guy who's just, these guys have just been solid big men that can just come in and play a role for you in that spot. And then if the Bucks, let's say it's not Giannis for the Knicks, guys like Gary Trent Jr., Cole Anthony, those guys are on minimum deals. Those would be, hey, we're going to swap out one of our minimum guys for your minimum guy. We saw that as recently as last year, right? They did that with gosh, now I can't. Was it Reggie Jackson who went out for Jericho Sims? Somebody went out for Jericho Sims.
Delon Wright.
Yeah, Delon Wright. Yeah. So you're in a position where you could do, something like that, and that's an easy move. It seems like Jordan Clarkson has kind of fallen by the wayside here. So maybe you move him for a guy like Gary Trent Jr., and that's where you go. There's again, none of these are gonna get people super fired up, and you're not, again, running to the team store, but these are the kind of moves where if they don't don't do a Giannis move, you kind of look at it, it's like, well, there's not a whole lot they really, really need.
Yeah.
So just be smart and make a couple small moves around the edges that kind of fill out your rotation.
Knicks Nation, this is CP the Franchise here, creator of KnicksFanTV, and I want to thank you for listening to this KFTV mini episode. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit follow, drop us a rating, and check out the full episode right here on this podcast feed. And you can also check us out in video format on youtube.com/KnicksFanTV. More Knicks content coming up. Stay locked in.